There would be a little lag now, so keep it muted, otherwise it will disturb you. Sasha.
हाँ, वो तो I have muted my other screen. वो तो ठीक. Yes, I think we are live. I can see us on the screen. And I think 62 people are waiting already, so that's good. वो तो I have muted my other screen. Yes, I think we are. So the people have started joining. Guys, we'll just wait for another couple of minutes so that everybody can join, and then we'll start. Hello everyone who's just joining. We are just waiting for another minute and or so, and then I'll just begin. So yeah. Okay, so good evening, everyone. I am Shashwat from Alumni Affairs, and we are working to connect various students with alumni recently, and that is something you guys would know if you are following our Instagram page. So this is another initiative which we have taken with Alumni Affairs, and we wanted to help students who are preparing for UPSC in IT Delhi. So this is our series called SAFAR, and this is the first episode, and the topic of this episode will be why and who should go for civil services. So we have three guests with us today, and I'll be introducing them one by one. So first of all, we have Mr. Santosh Rastogi. He is an IPS officer of 1998 batch of Maharashtra cadre, and he is currently posted in Delhi as an Inspector General in the National Investigation Agency, that is the NIA, on deputation. Secondly, we have Mr. Saurabh Vijay, who is an IAS officer of 1998 batch. He is also of Maharashtra cadre, and he is currently appointed as the Secretary of Medical Education and Drugs Department in the government of Maharashtra. And lastly, we have Mr. Vipul, who is an IFS officer also of 1998 batch, and he is currently the Joint Secretary of Drugs Division in the Ministry of External Affairs. So I welcome you once again, our speakers, and I would like you to add something, if you would like to add something about yourself and address our audience. Maharashtra Garden.
So, Shashwat, should I start?
Yes, sir, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So, आपके जो हैं दो सवाल हैं इसमें मेन, who and why. So, who पे I would just like to give you 2-3 points. I feel who में सबसे important है the one who has perseverance to clear this exam, because we should all understand that this is not IIT JEE type of exam, because हम सब लोग अभी JEE वाले लोग हैं जो IIT JEE clear कर चुके हैं, but this is not IIT JEE type of exam जिसमें clear input और output के बीच में relation होता है. UPSC में एटलीस्ट आई फील इनपुट और आउटपुट में उतना क्लियर रिलेशन नहीं होता है, तो कभी कभी इनपुट बहुत अच्छा हो तो भी आउटपुट बहुत अच्छा नहीं निकल पाता है. सेकेंडली इज दिस डिसीजन दैट यू वांट टू अपीयर फॉर यूपीएससी मोस्टली इज इररिवोकेबल इन द सेंस की टाइमिंग जो है इसकी बिटवीन द लास्ट रिजल्ट एंड द नेक्स्ट प्रीलिम्स इज सच कि आप हमेशा यू आर टेम्प्टेड टू अपीयर इन द नेक्स्ट प्रीलिम्स आल्सो, and then you enter the next year cycle. So until unless you are through with the exam or you have exhausted all your attempts, You don't stop appearing for the exam. And तीसरी चीज I would like to say is that please appear in this exam only because you yourself want to do this. Don't go by what your parents say or your relatives want it. तो ऐसा ये करना यूपीएससी के लिए, because at times during the preparation also and during the service also you will be feeling very down at times, and you would face very difficult situations. तो उस टाइम पर if it is your own decision you will sail through. अदरवाइज फिर वो ऐसे भी केसेस होते हैं कि सब्जेक्ट चेंज कर लिया, ये कर लिया, एंड देन 1-2 साल नहीं दिया, फिर से देना शुरू कर दिया. सो हाफ हार्टेड अटेम्प्ट इज नॉट समथिंग व्हिच इज डिजायरेबल फॉर दिस टाइप ऑफ एग्जाम. और वाई के बारे में जस्ट 2 पॉइंट्स. फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट इज जॉब सिक्योरिटी. जॉब सिक्योरिटीज में इतनी ज्यादा है कि until and unless I would say you are the enemy of your you are the biggest enemy of your own job, तब तक आपका जॉब नहीं जाता है सिविल सर्विसेज में. You will have your job. And second thing is obviously, as we all know, status in the society. That has something to do with the psyche of Indians. थोड़ा feudalism से भी उसका कुछ connection है मुझे लगता है. And you develop contacts all across the country. You have batchmates, you have service mates. So there's nothing that you cannot get done in any corner of this country. So these are the issues that I would like to add. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Saurabh, sir, would you like to go next?
Yeah, so good evening, Shashwat, and I welcome all my young friends. In fact, I would just begin maybe on a more general this thing that joining civil services, I would now advise that few people should be going more in for research, because of course, like I was advising you earlier, we are also 2 decades now old stuff. So a lot of things have changed even in India. Like as that time the economy was still opening up, so there were not very many options. So now you have a lot of options. Now in 4 years, you also get exposed to a lot many things which are during our time, it was not there. So I am saying that you really need to do a bit of research by vis-a-vis what options you really have. So, and you have to, because now you are old enough to gauge your own strengths, right? So you should be seeing that what you really want to do in your life, which will please you. And I'm sure nowadays, unlike during our times, coming from a middle class family, you would really be looking this as a top-notch career option in certain ways, especially when your parents want to see you and in a particular position in the society. And but here you are where you really can. A lot many options are open. So I would suggest that you please visit your weaknesses. I think Adi is my.
Just a second.
Thanks, Adi. So what I was saying is that you please try to look in your own strengths, and then you try to see the career of what you are. There are a lot of data nowadays available online. That's what we all do now whenever we are confronted with any new kind of a thing. So I'm sure that doing a research and engaging what you really want to do. And as like Santosh is saying, it is really putting in efforts, not just 1 year. So you have to be putting in minimum 2 years of effort. So are you really willing to put in yourself for that long a period? That 2 years is nowadays, because you really perseverance is what we focus. I'm sure that is what you would like when you are entering the civil services. It's like in JEE you take one attempt and mostly then you are taking whichever branch that you get and you decide on a lot many things. But here you will have to prepare for at least 2 years of hard work. Perseverance is definitely, and you have to really again give in another bit what you did in the JEE thing. So I would advise that first you be really first assure yourself that once you look at the question papers, your options, and then you really feel comfort that I am into this game and I can really make it. So that kind of a thing. One is, of course, you are good in PCM, so you took the JEE option. But here, because you are going to select maybe nowadays only one option, and also the general studies is now having a lot more weightage. So just have a look at the last 5-6 years question papers. And if you feel that, oh, this is very much within my own zone, I'll be able to, through some more effort, will be really able to make it up, because now you are here with all the streams equally posed. So there will be gold medalists in each field, which will be competing for this. So I think these are the things which you should really do a bit of research, look at this, Yeah, and then if you see that, yes, I'm ready to go in for 2 years and it is worth the effort, then I think you should go in for it. And as he says that there are, of course, a lot of positives which come is the...
Well, I think the title of this event that you're given is "Who and Why Should One Join Civil Service." So I think I think what is important is why one should join civil service, and I think in that the answer is fairly clear, which is that if you really want to serve the society and the country, and there are diverse ways of doing it. There are so many services which are available through the UPSC exam, and in each one of them, there are different ways in which you serve the country or the society very directly, and in many cases indirectly as well. And if that is what you want to do, I think then one should join the civil service. And who should join? I think the answer is fairly obvious, which is that if you really want to do this, then you should join. And especially from IIT, I think everyone has a very good chance of entering the civil services. Uh, there are so many of us who are already in the civil services. People are doing wonderful work in the civil services who are IIT alumni, and the new generation can also contribute in that regard. So that is my initial answer. Of course, since I am in the foreign service, so I can speak a little bit about the foreign service as to what work we do a little bit later in the event.
Sure, sir. Just a second, sir. Akshit, we are getting a little complaints that it is lagging. So, is there something we can do right now? Hello, Akshit. I'm audible.
Shashwat, you can continue the session. We'll figure out something if it's possible.
Okay, sure. So let's just move on to the questions, and I think Akshit is looking into it, and I think it's better now. So, sir, the first question I would like to ask is, what all does UPSC offer as a career option, and what are basically the merits and demerits of the various services that are provided by the civil services, and what are the material benefits? And like Santosh sir said, that there are various problems and compromises you have to make. So, something regarding that what does it offer, and what are the difficulties one can face?
विपुल सर आप शुरू कीजिए.
Okay. So I think, in terms of services, there is a lot of variety of civil services which are offered through the UPSC Civil Services exam, starting by, IAS, IFS, the police service, the customs, the revenue, railways has 3-4 services to offer, CBI. There are other services. I mean, I think that one can look at the advertisement that is placed by the civil services, by the UPSC for civil services, and I think each of the service will have its own merits. There will be a few demerits. I don't think there are too many, especially for the people who have that bent of mind and who want to go into civil services. I would just like to speak, for the foreign service, wherein I've already put in almost 23 years now in the foreign service. And in terms of the merits of the service, I think what I can certainly say is that since the foreign service represents the country abroad, that is a big honor that is bestowed by the country on someone. And towards the end of your career, after about 20 years of service, you become ambassador of your country in some other country, and that's a huge honor. In terms of your work during the service, it has great merits. Starting from helping, let's say, an Indian worker who is serving in the Gulf very directly, making an impact on his life. That is at the that's one dimension of your work. To preparing for, let's say, prime minister's visits abroad, interacting with the top ministers, in many cases even the presidents and prime ministers of other countries. That is a big honor, and I think the trust that the country has placed in you by giving you such an opportunity is a wonderful thing. And then on the way, when you are abroad, you get to see so many countries during your career. You get to meet a lot of variety of people. So you keep adding to your personality. You keep adding to your experience. You get very immersive experiences in different cultures and different countries, and that I think is great. So these are the merits of the service. There are a lot many others that I can say. Uh, in terms of demerits, one thing that many people don't like is being away from your, let's say, relatives and friends. That does happen. That happens, for 3 years when you are on a posting. But then you can always come back and spend time in Delhi or in some of the other capitals of the country. So I think that's the only demerit I would say in terms of the foreign service. When you go into what are the kind of facilities, etc., provided by the service, I don't think at this stage one should get too much into it. Suffice it to say, you are a Group A officer of Government of India, so you get your salary, etc. When you are abroad, you get your foreign allowance, and what I can definitely say is Government of India takes excellent care of its diplomats when they are abroad. So I think Government of India gives you a fantastic life when you are in the foreign service. You have the opportunity of both serving abroad. You can also choose to serve in Delhi, wherein you are dealing with, let's say, a group of countries or a particular issue, for example, climate change or disarmament, either abroad or in Delhi. So there is a lot of diversity of work again that is given in foreign service. So overall, I think if anyone wants to be, as I said, wants to be in that zone of serving the public and of serving the nation, I think foreign service provides a wonderful opportunity.
That's great, sir. Now, Saurabh sir, would you like to add to this?
Yeah, so actually, again, when we took the civil services, there were a large number of choices which were there to be filled in. There were Group A services, Group B services. So considering a time limits, of course, comparing these services and all would be unfair. But after doing IIT, I would advise that one should really go for the kill and only for the top-notch 3 odd services. That is what you should be really looking at least in your 2 attempts. And if I go to your later part of one of the questions, which says that are you really looking into some plan B kind of a thing, then of course you should fill in more choices, because as Santosh was saying earlier, that it may not be possible. It's just not the input and output or your application on that particular day, like a JEE exam. Here, output may not be very commensurate with the hard work that we have put in. So I think plan B part, you can fill in more choices so that, of course, after your third or fourth attempt, you are not left anywhere in that sense. But I would still say that each of the services has its own flavor, and you get chance, as Vipul sir was saying, to serve your country in the very topmost position. So, I think most of the services generally have a very clear-cut defined 3 zones actually. Like even if I look at my own service, so you have a first decade where you are actually getting totally exposed to the field issues, which you really, when you enter the services, those are the things which are in your mind, that finding some solutions to your society. And there's a lot of freedom to given to the officer concerned to find solution. Like in our case, you have a something that you can really take up your own priorities, what you like, and try to find some innovative solution to that problem, or to implement a particular scheme. Say you want to improve quality of education, say primary education. So you can really take up those things in your own stride, identify your priorities, take it up in your tenure. So first decade is mostly to do with these field level postings. And also last decade is equally more or less well defined. What I would say is in terms of policy planning, where you really advise our ministers and all, guiding them in the policy formulation, which guides, in fact, some of the biggest sectors of these countries. But in between, there's a flux. So there you can really try to even pursue. Nowadays, Government of India has become very open. You can go for some long-term training, study leave. You can pursue. Most officers are doing PhDs from top-notch universities in US or Europe. So I think these things are also now built in, which really helps you to diversify, specialize towards the later part of your career. So I think that each of these services now, basically we are after a particular 15 years or so, you can really move in various ministries also. So nowadays we are approaching that part that first you may begin as a specialized field level of each service, but then after some point of time, there is a whatever is your area of interest, and most services really come together in policy formulation and advise the ministers based on your field experience. So I think after 15, 20 years, we all end up in maybe ministerial level positions also. So this is something which I want to add. Santosh sir.
So merits, so I think Vipul and Saurabh both have already told. Demerits ke baare mein, especially relating to my service and also Saurabh Vijay's service, you may have to face a lot many transfers while being in service. So stability in life in the initial 10-15 years may be a problem sometimes. It depends on the kind of issues that you're dealing, the place where you're posted, and the issues that are there in that place of posting. So वो एक major रहता है. For example, I have changed about 15 houses in my 23 years of career so far. So frequent transfers is one of the demerits. And then as far as diversification is concerned, in police also, once you are through with your postings in the districts as superintendent of police, as range DIGs and all, then you can actually go in for deputation in the organizations like the CBI, the NIA, or the paramilitary forces, the CRPF, the BSF. So while being in service also, in one single service also, you get many opportunities to serve in various areas in the country, and also looking into various aspects of that service. So this is all that I would like to add.
Okay, sir, I think that was great. So now let's move on to the next question. So another very important question that we have today is that, so how does one actually take that final step? There's a lot of insecurity in people, and as you have said, that it is not a clear exam that anybody can guarantee that you're going to get selected. So how do you just deal with the fact that there's a chance of not getting selected and just go for it all out? Are there any tips which you would like to share regarding this?
Saurabh can start.
Okay, thank you. So if I can just want to know my personal experiences, like at the end of the 4th year, as I told you earlier, that I got hold of, there used to be this planner actually that time would come. So which gives some insight into it. So you look at the syllabus of the optional subject you have, the general studies topics you have. Then you look at the question papers that you have, and I think what I had studied till class 10th and the general knowledge background and other thing, which I felt I could, you get that feeling that you can really do it. Actually, it looks, I think it comes from within. I think that. So when I looked at it in the very summer, I think I can really do it. Something, and I should give it a try, of course, right from you. I would say, as I was telling you, I come from one of the northern states, Rajasthan. So right from your class 6th and all, your parents, your family, they expect that you do. So I thought, let me give it a one try, and it looks doable. So that thing come from inside, like even for, so that if you feel that, yes, you can do it, it's not something which you have to really force upon yourself to really make yourself comfortable in that subject. I think then you should try to go for it. So otherwise, anybody from IIT who has cracked the civils, this JEE mains and advanced nowadays, it is much more tougher than during our days. I am sure you people have it in you. It's only about the comfort that you feel with the subject and the UPSC kind of paper that you have, from my side.
So Sashwat, as I said earlier also, my advice is one should appear in this exam only because he himself or herself wants to do it. not because her parents or his parents want that he should appear for the civil services. So this is the same point which Saurabh has also emphasized, that you should have in you that, and you would actually know that you can do this exam and you want to do such kind of work in your life. So वो feeling तो
Just
आपके
break
अंदर
that
रहती है.
chain. Maybe what you are saying, like I'm telling you, I was in civil engineering. So my father immediately asked, why did you take civil engineering as an option? I said, I can never make it taking civil engineering as an option in that, because I never felt very comfortable in all those 4 years doing that engineering. I was never tuned to it, but because my JE rank gave me that, so I think I was there. But then I took geography as an option and I was much more comfortable. So I never studied beyond 10th standard geography, but I think I found it more like science. It had something and it helped me in essay and it helped me in general studies. So these are the things, and maths, of course, I like. So I think these are the ways which save and not forcing an option on you. I looked at most people taking physics. I found that it's a competitive exam. Ultimately, you have to score. It's not about, so physics also, though I liked it, but people not scoring very well for last few attempts. So I decided. So these are the various ways if you are really wanting to crack a competitive exam. You have to look at your choices also and your what you want to do in that particular option also. So that is there. Santosh, sorry, I broke this. Maybe I.
नहीं विपुल आप ऐड कीजिए.
So what I would like to add is that one of the things that one should not make a mistake is to keep 2 or 3 career choices in parallel and try and pursue that. I think at least a few of my very close friends from Kumaon also, they made that mistake, which is that you are half-minded. You want to do MBA as well. You want to do civil services as well. Some point you're also thinking of going into, let's say, a business or doing private sector job or whatever. I think that's a mistake that some people make. I don't know how many. I think that is something that one should not. So if you have to go into this exam, one should go concentrated at least for 2 or 3 years, whatever time frame you may decide for yourself, and then prepare hard for it and then go for it. I would also like to suggest that one should not, devote too much time into this, because one should also keep a clear time frame as to how many years you are going to give to this. When you come out of IIT, let's say at 21 or 22, and if you end up spending 4 or 5 prime years of your life, by the time you decide that no, this is not my cup of tea, I'm not able to make it or whatever, then it becomes very difficult. By the time your batchmates would have moved ahead in private sector, it becomes difficult for people to catch it. It has a psychological impact. So that also one has to keep in mind. So basically 2 points. Don't try to put your feet on 2 boats. It becomes difficult to balance yourself then. And the second, put a definite time frame as to how many years you are going to give to this exam. I don't know as to how many attempts one can take now. But these are some of the mistakes that some of our colleagues made. It had problems for them. But overall, as Santosh and Saurabh have also said, you have to decide for yourself whether you really want to do this. If you really want to do this, then put a time frame and don't go for other things at that particular time that you can try maybe a bit later.
That's great, sir. So, sir, another question that we, what all does a person need, right? Like knowing how to write answers or something like that. So, what qualities do you think one should have to crack the paper?
I think one is command over some command over language, because it is largely felt that engineers have poor command over language. So this is one aspect that IIT should take care of. And perseverance, तो खैर उस पे तो बात हो ही चुकी है. So that is the very clear. And second thing is choosing that subject, as Saurabh has earlier said, choosing your subject very, very carefully. Because midway, if you are required to change your subject, then actually it would mean that you have started from a scratch. So choosing that subject, command over language, and you also have to start taking interest into general topics relating to general studies, the news, and because sometimes engineering में ऐसा I feel there are lot many friends जो मेरे होते थे कम से कम जिनको कुछ भी हवा नहीं होती थी आसपास क्या चल रहा है. So वो एक चीज हम लोगों को थोड़ा सा we should start developing once we are in maybe third year or something, that we should start taking interest in the happenings around us.
And sir, adding to that optional which you said, a lot of people also keep asking about the option. So do you have any way one can actually choose that optional correctly?
We all appeared in the exam way back actually. So this question you will have to ask to somebody who has appeared recently. I think Vipul sir may add something. I don't know.
No, not really, Sabda. I can't say as to what optional one should take. I think the trick is that you go through, your people who have passed out in the last 3-4 years, which are the high-scoring subjects. I think that is one thing. And then your own aptitude in that particular subject, you should feel happy studying it for 2 years, let's say. I think that should be the yardstick by which you should decide on your subject. It's only one these days, and as Santosh is saying, now GS has, I think, more weightage as compared to what it used to be during our time. So one has to start early. Maybe not even wait till third year. Maybe start in second year. At least go to common room, study. Start reading your newspapers from first year or second year, and then of course the usual stuff of reading Hindu, let's say, or some other newspaper. The two other things I would like to just say, and that helped me, is that when I was preparing, especially GS, there used to be this thick books which used to come on different subjects, on science and technology, let's say, or on geography and others. And those were like 300, 400 pages. And I used to be overawed by them. I would say, oh, kaun padh sakta hai 400 pages. And then one of my friends, batchmates, he came around. He had got very good marks in GS the previous year. So he said, so I said, yaar, isko kaise padhenge? He said, no, one can do it. And that was a big lesson for me. So then I was not overawed after that. I said, if he can read it, why can't I also do it? So that helped me a little bit. The second, for example, I used to make a mistake in the GS paper. There used to be some section on statistics, and I used to spend a lot of time explaining the answers in stats, for example. So I again asked one of our seniors, now in Haryana cadre, and he told me, no, you don't have to write all the explanation. So instead of something that I used to take almost 50 minutes in that exam, doing those statistics sums, even being an engineer, just explaining them, then after that, I would take only half an hour in the next year. And that helped me a lot in completing the paper. Earlier, I would always, leave some of the topics. I would not be able to write them. So the point being basically that one has to also start learning from people who have cracked the exam before you. I think that is important. So wherever one gets stuck, one is facing a little difficulty as to how I should go about doing it. I think people who have taken the exam in the past and who have cracked it got very good positions. One should definitely try and learn from them.
So I think quality aspect, both my Santosh and Vipul sir has really covered it there. I would just add that suppose if you are selecting a new option, do take a little coaching, and if the subject is like different, some people choose public administration or other thing, that can give you a good exposure because they are really looking and preparing you from the requirements of the civil service exam. So maybe 3 months and all in that particular option will help. But nowadays, they are really testing you more on how well aware you are about their basically the problems of the nation is facing, the solutions we are really looking at, and how we can really fast track, find some innovative solution. So slight analytical bent in analyzing these issues is something they are looking at. So if your answers are offering that kind of an approach, that that in your answers you are saying that you are really analyzing a particular economics issue or something in real depth. I think that also helps. So maybe as Vipul sir and they are saying, you start a little early, read those editorials also very carefully, and look for just not the newspapers which write a language which is very, I think, make us really look at and turn on the pages, but going in deep. So maybe like a newspaper like Hindu or Frontline, which has not changed over the ages, but gives you a real insight into that particular issue in that current affairs problem. Maybe now with a different approach. So maybe there nowadays we are giving a lot of this thing to the ideology also that goes behind it. So one has to be really balanced in his approach. One has to be all through, but each you have to look at from your own perspective. So you can read every other thing that's just coming in the newspaper, but then what you think as the person, because that is the maturity they're now looking at early on, and they feel that the young officers can really find solution. And as IITians, we can offer quite a lot. So look at economics part of it, but then you think in your own way and analyze it and give it, and then maybe preparing these some current topics, because whatever comes, I think even in the subject paper, it's more to do with your current affairs. So I would advise that one has to really know, make small notes, newspaper cuttings, keeping around, making your own, all this preparation, it goes a long way. So as a note, don't keep your thing in 2-3 boards. Focus only on your civil service preparations, and every aspect you are thinking only about it and preparing what they're actually checking on you. So a little analysis of the past 5 years question paper would give you that insight and make you prepare better accordingly. That is what I thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I think that was very helpful for the students. Sir, another question that we're getting a lot right now is, as Saurabh sir already mentioned about a plan B. So people are asking whether they should have a plan B or they should go all out for the paper. And did you guys sit for the internships and placements, and what should one who's thinking of doing UPSC do about that?
विपुल सर आप शुरू कीजिए.
Okay. I think in terms of plan B, one should definitely have a plan B. What I was saying was, for example, if you one has to give yourself particular time frame that I'll be taking this exam for these many years, and at the end of it, if you are not selected, then what do you do? So that is something that one should definitely think. What I did, for example, was that I took mechanical engineering as a subject. So I took the engineering services exam. So I was already in the railways when I took the exam, and I had in my mind, I had always thought that max 3 attempts, not more than that. If I don't get into the service after 3 attempts, then I'll be happy with engineering services, which I'd already cracked by the time I took my second and third attempts. But even otherwise, let's say if you don't have engineering services, even then maybe 3 attempts, and after that one has to decide. You have to move on in life. And it's also not that if you don't crack the civil services exam in 3 years or 4 years, you don't get into it. That's not the end of the life. I mean, these days, even being in private sector, maybe initially it might be difficult, but let's say after 10 years or 15 years, if you really want to serve the country directly or the society, you can go into foundations. You can do a lot of other things. From the private sector also, you can do very similar things that you do through the civil services, maybe later. So one should not get disheartened if one doesn't get selected, and move on in life with a plan B. But that plan B is required. But that plan B has to be after you have kind of done your bit, and you are satisfied that you gave your 100% and you were not able to take it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, sir, the last question that I have, then we'll move on to asking questions by the people. So, according to you, what is the difference between starting your preparation in college, means going directly for UPSC after college, and taking a break of 1 or 2 years and doing a job and then going for UPSC? So, what is your take on that, and what do you think is actually better, or what is the difference?
Sashad, I feel all of us have been saying this, that if you really want to appear for civil services, you have to be very clear in your mind. So once that is there, no point in doing something else for initially 2 years and then trying to jump into this. So from my my experience, I would not recommend doing anything if you actually want to appear for civil services. So my answer to the question is that you should be, once you are clear that you want to do this, you should start preparing from the college days itself. Maybe Saurabh will have some other views.
Actually, what Santosh was saying during our time also, so I decided to take 2 serious attempts. And serious attempt means not during the, because we are already loaded up in this thing. So let's finish our BTech and then maybe from that summer onwards. That's what we started. And so when I passed out in 96, we took the 97. So one serious year of studies where you really cover the whole intensive part of this. And then I think 2 serious attempts is what was we thought of. So I think starting early and entering service early also makes a lot of difference. Otherwise, nowadays, when I went to the academy, Santosh, sometime just 1 year back, I found many people after doing some private sector assignment, they are coming, they are MBAs, they are actually multinational. But then they still find something missing in that multinational. And then they feel that, no, we have to come back, serve society. And they've really done very well in that sense. So even that type of experience is coming back to civil services. So and plan B, as Vipul is saying, यार तुम लोग कुछ डरने की जरूरत नहीं. You are having a BTech degree in your hand. 1 साल का कहीं भी आप कुछ कोर्स करके फाउंडेशन या आजकल इतने तरह के कोर्सेज हैं, you will make it up. So maybe 2-3 years behind your regular this thing. So have that faith in yourself. One is that you are going to make it. So I think you should forget that. But otherwise, still, with one or this thing, will join and after 5-10 साल बाद अब हम 20 साल बाद बोल सकते हैं बहुत ज्यादा यार लाइफ में इतना फर्क नहीं पड़ता 2-3 साल आगे पीछे में ultimately we all catch up and it's all averaging out in this long distance. So that is what I can tell Sasha.
Thank you, sir. So if that is enough, so we can move on to asking the questions that we've got on YouTube. So Aranya, would you like to take it up from here?
Thank you, Shashwat. So we had a few questions asked to us on YouTube that were not covered during the session. So I'll be taking a few relevant ones. One of the most commonly asked question was which branch is appropriate for UPSC? As in, does it make a difference from which branch you're doing your engineering from, your graduation from? Will it make a difference in your UPSC preparation?
I am from textiles. That is all that I can say.
I already mentioned my brand, so that's not. But I think it shouldn't make much of a difference. It's all about you feel about UPSC and really want to make it. So we all have, like, I think, fairly intelligent people who made into JEE mains. So why should we feel that a particular branch only people would be successful? So we are all the same. You should rather we should say that that particular day you could have also got a better branch. Maybe that is what I would say.
No, I agree with both Saurabh and Santosh. It shouldn't really make a difference. I mean, if someone is, let's say, in computers or textiles, whatever branch, and let's say if your subject is geography, as Saurabh was saying, I mean, how will that make a difference? It depends. I mean, you have to put in a lot of hard work. You have to have some interest in that particular subject, and of course, if you are an IITian, then you have it in you. So I don't think subject really makes that big a difference.
Thank you, sir. I guess I also agree with that. Another question that is being asked a lot is that we have this common perception that graduation in arts or humanities is more appropriate for UPSC, and we are from a technical background. So does that is it a disadvantage for us, or are there any advantages of being from a technical background?
Well, so let me take it, right. I think, this is kind of a myth that we always, we used to fret about it, that this will be asked from us in interviews. And as you grow in service, as now that we have put in so many years in service, it really, it's more helpful. I think, especially for IITians, it's what, you have a certain metal, and I think that is what is important. In government, what you want is people who are dedicated to the cause, and people who are dedicated to serve the country, and the public. In some cases, in some particular circumstances, maybe a humanities graduate might be better. In many others, it will be technical people who would understand really things, and who might be better. So I think, I don't know whether this is still asked in interviews in UPSC, but I don't think one should. It's technical or humanities. They need, the civil services need a diversity of people, and people who are dedicated, and therefore it should not. It really doesn't make a difference. Again,
I think I would also like to add here. अब देखिए, in IIT जो आपके स्कूल की क्लासरूम्स जो होते थे, उसमें से कौन से बच्चे IIT में आते हैं? Only the first 5 or 6 rankers. तो प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड कि IIT में जो बच्चे आ रहे हैं, दे आर ऑल राउंड, मतलब वो बेटर है. दिस इज वन थिंग. इंजीनियरिंग तो ठीक है, इंजीनियरिंग आपने की है, यू हैव स्टडीड इंजीनियरिंग, तो इंजीनियर आपको बोला जाता है, बट अल्टीमेटली प्लीज डोंट फॉरगेट दैट यू आर द बेस्ट ऑफ द बेस्ट. यू आर ऑलवेज द बेस्ट इन द स्कूल ऑल्सो. तो ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता दैट यू कैन फेल एनीवेयर. सो सर्विस में भी इफ यू आर फ्रॉम IIT, आपका एटीट्यूड अलग होता है, आपको प्रॉब्लम को देखने का तरीका अलग होता है. यू एनालाइज इट वेरी क्विकली एंड यू हैव योर ओन वेज टू सॉल्व इट, व्हिच इज देन अप्रिशिएटेड इन योर सर्विस आल्सो. एंड देन पीपल स्टार्ट थिंकिंग, है ये तो IIT वाला है, इसलिए इसको पता है, या इसने कर लिया. सौरभ?
Yeah, I fully agree. In fact, when I joined the service, my collector under whom I was being trained, he was from Stephens. But he will introduce me everyone that he has come from IIT Delhi. So that is something you always have I think a good start in your career also. So you have respect of IIT everywhere, and that continues in civil services. Or governance mein technology is playing a major role. So I'm sure even the interview board and all will take your 4 years. If this is the person who can really find us better solutions. So I think that is how there is not at all a disadvantage, rather advantage.
So we received an interesting question. Someone asked us that how much interference do you have from politicians when you're working? Is it actually true, or does it make any difference in how you do your job?
सौरभ आप बताइए. महाराष्ट्र में, हम तो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट में हैं.
What I can say is, of course, there is जो merits और demerits आप शुरू में बात कर रहे थे, तो मतलब you are actually you are not the one. We are a democracy, and there are these elected representatives. So ultimately, the final call is with our political leadership, right? So, but whatever is best. So here again, they are going to look at you, your character, whether you can take stand, or if you feel that you are intellectually honest, integrity is there, and you are able to put it up very well in your file and every other thing. But let the things be. Like as Santosh was saying, he was transferred number of times. So initially, you may not have a very smooth, and there will be a lot of rough career in the first 10 years and even later and all. So that you must be you're reading everywhere in the newspapers. But I think again, like during the preparation, it is all about yourself. What if you are really deriving pleasure, and if you feel that this is civil services what I wanted to be, and I was not a person who was ever looking at my present net worth after 10 years or 20 years. That was never my kind of thing. So I'm sure you will find, and even those fights give you, I think, an adventure in itself, standing and taking a position. I'm telling you, no better thrill than that you are really taking a stand and justifying it on merit. Not just because I feel it so, but I think I find there are 5 reasons that this should be done in this particular way. Let them then take that call and all. And of course, we all grow then, and somewhere we find. So that's again a very interesting part of the civil services, which I, rather than looking at it, is also a part of career growth. Vipul Sam?
I think I will add to this. One thing that I would like to clarify initially is that at this point of time, when you are thinking of appearing in the exam, these are not the questions you should be worrying about actually. You will be in service for 33 years, 35 years, so there will be a lot of time to deal with all these issues. But yes, that's a fact of life and you have to live with it. As Saurabh has mentioned, in the first 10 years, 15 years of your service, you make a name for yourself and you earn a reputation, and then things start smoothing out to some extent. But ये कहना कि interference होता ही नहीं है, ऐसा तो नहीं है. And it is rightly so, because we live in a democracy. They are doing their job, you have to do your job actually. Vipul?
So, I won't add too much to this, but I think Saurabh has explained it very nicely. We are a democracy. We have people's representative, elected representatives, and their voice is to be heard. And the bureaucracy has to work in hand with the elected representatives, and that's something I don't think one can only say that this is political interference. Yes, some bit of political interference will be there, but ultimately, as a democracy, our elected representatives are very important. They are the voice of the public.
Okay, sir. I'll take one last question. Since we discussed that, if we're going for UPSC, we should go all in for it. And so is it going to make any difference when we sit for our interviews if our CV doesn't have a good internship or any projects, etc.?
I don't think that matters that much actually. This would not make so much of a difference. You may be grilled on the issue that being an IITian, the country has spent so much of resources, so much of money on you, and now you want to leave all that, and now you want to enter all that civil services. This used to happen in our times also, as people has already mentioned this. But CV के अंदर का detail, so I don't think that matters so much.
Sir, there is one more question. Since you have gone on deputation during your services, so what kind of opportunity do they offer? Everyone wants to know, like, can you have a diversified tenure in your service rather than doing just one kind of job for the next 30 years?
Is this question directed to me?
No, sir, for all of you.
Acha, Saurabh, please. Saurabh will respond to this. I think Vipul, yes, Saurabh.
Well, we have worked like in a very different positions. Like as I was telling you, first 10 careers, you're mostly in field or 15 years. Then you can take deputation to Government of India also. And from Government of India, you can take up, like I also went on a foreign deputation for 3 years. And so you really can move. There's a lot of flexibility in moving from one to another and coming back again to your own state, whatever experience you want to. But the state gives you a more close end, I think I would say, which impacts the lives of people more directly. And at the central deputation level, when you are working in Government of India and all, you're doing more at a metro and you're trying to, which again is a much bigger picture in that sense because it affects the entire country in that sense. So it's a very good mix actually that is there. So I think from my side, it's a good learning.
Okay, I believe that brings our session to an end. I hope that we were able to discover and learn about all the things which were necessary and relevant to the session today. Alumni Affairs is grateful towards Mr. Santosh Rastogi, Mr. Saurabh Vijay, and Mr. Vipul for joining us. This session would enable many students to take the first step towards their journey of pursuing UPSC. Would you like to add something in the end?
I just want to thank you all, the IIT Delhi alumni, and Shashwat was in touch with us. So thanks for organizing it so beautifully. And we relived our preparation times and the past 20 plus years that we have been into service in this short duration of 1 year, hour. I think all of you just believe in yourself and you're all going to do very well. I'm sure you have cracked JEE Mains, Advanced, as I told you. It's like you are really top-notch people. You people should not be least, I think, don't even have an iota of doubt in yourself. You're all going to do very well. Whatever career path you choose, I think research it well, and then whatever you decide, I think row in single boat. Don't try too many things, and you are going to be really doing it all well. अब आगे गेट पढ़ के सीखना, I think जिंदगी का यही नाम है. तो सब ऐसे ही, I think. संतोष, आप शायरी वायरी से
it is it is because of it is because of a determination that you are all are in IIT. So it is this determination which will take you through. Chinta kijiye mat. You are the best of the best. Just believe in this, and this is what is true and nothing else. Vipul?
Well, it's been a pleasure joining Santosh and Saurabh. I've not spoken to them for quite some time, despite being from the same hostel and same batch. But thank you very much for reconnecting with IIT Delhi. It's always been a great honor being part of that institution. And as Saurabh has said, one should not have, anyone who is in IIT should not have any doubt in their ability for cracking the civil services exam. And it's a wonderful, wonderful career path that gives you a lot of opportunities, lots of diversity. And I would only like to convey my best wishes to anyone who wishes to take the exam from IIT Delhi.
So hosting all of you was our pleasure, and I would like to convey a big thank to our audience who joined us today and for this session. I hope to see you next Sunday for the second episode of SAFAR, where we'll be talking about planning the